I'm Dream Queen. You're in the cab with me. Thank you so much for rolling. We're back here in the book club. Glad you can make it back. I hope you're keeping up. If you can't remember what happened, go to In the Cab Radio on Linktree, and you can see easy links to archived episodes of the show. So you'll get everything all the way up till today. All right, I'm being silly, but welcome on through. I'm going to fill you in on what you might be new to. We are on the chapter on clothes. It's poem number 10 in the book. And I like to give a brief backstory for folks just catching up with us, not familiar with the material. Al-Mustafa is a seeker, and he has been living in the land of Orphalese for 12 years. He sees that the ship that will take him back to his homeland is approaching in the distance through the mists on the sea. He gathers himself and begins to walk from his hermitage to the seawall, through the village, through the fields, probably fields, then village, and then the port. People out there see him going and are like, oh, it's time for him to go. You can't stay, master. And his head is bowed, and no one can see that he is crying because he knows he has to go. Go all the way back to October, and you can see, or September, and you can see the real first rundown on this. And Almitra, the seeress, comes out of the temple into the square, and she says, we can't keep you. While we wait, will you tell us all you've observed? We want to learn about ourselves from you. And he says, okay. So people began to ask him to expound on the subject. And the weaver said, speak to us of clothes. And he answered, your clothes conceal much of your beauty, yet they hide not the unbeautiful. And though you seek in garments the freedom of privacy, you may find in them a harness and a chain. Would that you could meet the sun and the wind with more of your skin and less of your raiment. For the breath of life is in the sunlight, and the hand of life is in the wind. Some of you say, it is the north wind who has woven the clothes we wear. And I say, aye, it was the north wind. But shame was his loom, and the softening of the sinews was his thread. And when his work was done, he laughed in the forest. Forget not that modesty is for a shield against the eye of the unclean. And when the unclean shall be no more, what were modesty but a fetter and a fouling of the mind? And forget not that the earth delights to feel your bare feet, and the winds long to play with your hair. On clothes, Kahlil Gibran. Whew. Man, I enjoy rolling with y'all. I really do, on the fly. Sometimes it's rough because I don't want to take too long pauses and I can't stop and scribble, but things really come through. I need to get a pencil. Okay, so I love when I have revelations in the present moment. So let's talk about this a little bit. In the Cab Radio, at Instagram and Facebook and Gmail. And I'm telling you how you can get in touch with me, because if you want to come on the show, you want to shoot me a DM, we can chat. Love it. get your opinions on what's going on here, send me a message. Type it out. Let's just start from the beginning, because I have a lot of notes on this very short poem. And some of my notes are a little intense. Okay? Your clothes conceal much of your beauty, yet they hide not the unbeautiful. Now, that's pretty much in your face. Okay, class. We are all here in Earth School. My note here is who or what is unbeautiful? Question mark. Okay, journal prompts. All the hippies are talking about journaling. I think it's good. So, who and what are the unbeautiful? And many of us have had those elders in our lives. And it's just because somebody is pretty on the outside does not mean they're pretty on the inside. Or you can be pretty on the outside and then it's what inside that makes you ugly. Right? Now, if your grandmom told you that, or a teacher, but that's valuable to know. A lot of us, if you don't know it, get it again. Oof. Oh. Psychic hit. Ouch. Yo. I mean, come on. Just talking to the homie yesterday about this eroticizing serial killers and all of this, okay? Jeez, people, what are we doing? That's all. See, I got to fight with spirit right now not to get indignant and a little outraged. I'm trying to have compassion for the laggers in the class. Okay? Can we act right without sexualizing somebody for 5 minutes? So this is where I say that this is going to get deep, because we're talking about clothes. And as a woman, as a larger bodied woman, as a non-gender conforming woman, okay? I don't conform to whatever it is that they want a woman to be, but I'm associated with my sexing at birth, okay? Whatever, that's my choice. But I don't present as femme. Okay? So all of it has to do with what we wear and what we look like, what our body shapes are like, what we should hide, what we're allowed to show. Across the globe, we come from most cultures, indigenous cultures, or matriarchal cultures. Bring back the matriarchy. Y'all need to act right. Come on. It's funny because I've been watching a lot of off the wall stuff on YouTube, if you can't tell. It's kind of my jam. I'm a lot into spirit mediums and astrology stuff and the UFO thing and extraterrestrials. And so I was watching a short video that combined all the topics. And it was a young lady doing a mediumship to her higher self, but we were talking about ETs. Why is she going to go on there and say, ask them what they were most concerned about? They concerned about being sexualized, y'all. I'm not even playing. Like, I'm sitting there watching it and I'm like, I mean, they're not wrong. Look at what's going on the internet right now. Even people making jokes about shooting them down out of the sky or trying to get a man or, I mean, we just hairless monkeys. Come on. What do I want? We just hairless monkeys. But let's think about it, man. Just because somebody's got a hot body or whatever, we can't keep. I wouldn't want to sleep with nobody who would shoot a man in the back. I don't care what the cause is. I'm going to go ahead and leave them right where they're at in the revolution. But sexualization is not where my mind goes first. I'm not saying you should be like me, but I'm saying that there are certain things in a colonized culture and mindset where we eroticize murder. Check yourself. I mean, if that's what you're into, that's what you're into. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know. Clothes. So now women have to cover up all the time because sometimes it's okay and sometimes it's not okay. So let's go on to the rest of the poem here. And though you seek in garments the freedom of privacy, you may find in them a harness and a chain. Ask any woman you know when they trying to figure out what to wear outside. I would like to wear this because it's 5,000 degrees out, but I need to cover myself up because I don't feel like being ogled at or catcalled or made to feel uncomfortable in my own body when I'm just trying not to burst into flames or a rash. Okay? Would that you could meet the sun and the wind with more of your skin and less of your raiment. Would that? You know, I mean, I'm getting upset, but y'all know it's just funny to me because we all want change. And then it's just, I like Gibran, you know, I like the old speak. Would that he has these wishes for us. I wish this is there, you know, but that time has not come, you know. Some people are able to do this. There's a lot of, you know, like jokes. I could think of TV shows and comic books where the teenagers are ogling the tribal, you know, depictions in the museum, trying to see certain body parts. That's the first chance they get to see. Mostly young males get to see certain body parts in National Geographic or whatever. I mean, you younger people who just was born with the internet, y'all can see whatever, good and bad, you know. But for us, you know, trying to hunt down our first thrill is usually at a anthropological museum, where people in a different culture weren't made to feel like crap or in danger for dressing according to the elements. There are other places once organized religion and oppressive religions, the top ones where we start to turn into a patriarchal society where we're like, oh, no, don't need to control yourself if you're a man. Just go ahead, snatch somebody, do whatever. So we got to make all the women cover up. But, you know, in the desert, I mean, covering up is good. So there's like it really depends on what area you're in, you know. I don't know a lot about all that, but Kahlil Gibran, you know, he would that we would be able to be a little bit more free between ourselves and what nature demands. Sometimes you got to put it on, sometimes you got to take it off. But no times is somebody allowed to hurt you or approach you in a way that you don't want to be approached simply because of what you're wearing. Your body, my choice. What kind of movement is this? The fact that people would stand for that, you know, I don't care what kind of fathers and sons. Like, you really? This is what you believe in. I'm upset. Did y'all hear about the woman in France? Her husband drugged her and let 50 men have their way. And this was on the news, and she chose, with her head high, to have this trial be public because she wanted every single one of those men to be held accountable in a public court for what they all consented to do to her. Read about the warden of a Dublin, California prison who's in jail now himself, and the prison shut down because many women Some like 15 or more reported. That's just the ones that reported it. Okay, we know how this goes. Assault. In your baggy jumpsuit. They can't even control themselves. Because it's about power. Men, you need to start taking responsibility for your brethren out here. None of this stuff is excusable. None of the jokes. When do we have a zero tolerance? When is there a zero tolerance for assault and abusive and terrible, terrible, disgusting behavior? Zero. I got zero tolerance. For the breath of life is in the sunlight, and the hand of life is in the wind. Yeah, I haven't been naked outside. But I appreciate the people who can do it. I bet it feels good to have the sun all over you, right? Because we are a part of this, and our bodies are built to absorb vitamin D and all of the particles of light. We need to recharge. We need to recharge. I'm one of those people that say, hey, this north wind, I can't. It's the north wind that is woven the clothes that we wear. But the moment that I had, the aha moment that I had was in the next few lines where he says, and I say, it was the north wind, but shame was his loom, and the softening of the sinews was his thread. And when his work was done, he laughed in the forest. What came over me was, I was trying to understand yesterday, or the day before too. We talk about animism quite a bit on the show, where we assign personalities to inanimate objects. This is true to our spiritual nature. Some belief systems incorporate the idea that spirit is in everything. Spirit is in everything. I happened to be talking to a local sculptor the other day, follow up to last week's show on houses, where I talked a little bit and expounded a little bit about how part of the miracle of art to me is that the inspired artisan will take a raw material from nature, for instance, a log, and shape it into something, and all the processes and what it takes for the inspiration to come through, the tree to be grown and hewn, and what comes out of it. And the person told me, yes, I'm just releasing what's inside of the medium. And I think someone else, was it Michelangelo, when asked about David, and he said, I just chipped away all that wasn't him. And so I thought, why is the north wind so mean? If we're going to animate the wind, then why is she doing stuff with shame and softening sinews and stuff? Like, in nature, we're supposed to work together, right? And then I realized that the north wind is the wind, but we give it ourselves in order to deal with it. Meaning, the wind isn't actually sitting down and making the clothes. You're making the clothes, or you're ordering it from a weaver or a seamstress, or going to Target or whatever, right? Sorry, not advertising. Just like you're getting your clothes wherever you go. And then, that's in our times. But in these olden times, when people are making their own stuff, it's easy to get carried away in our heads about everything I just said in the first few minutes. What the husband is going to say, what the mother's going to say, what the mother-in-law is going to say, what the kid's going to have to listen to about their mama in school, and really what it is about what God said. And the only thing that is really influences God is man. Right? So at your loom, say it's cold outside, and also it's all this other stuff outside. And we weave all of that into our style. We weave what we want people to see about us in our clothes. I have a friend who doesn't like it when I say meat suit. Because I feel like we're in a meat suit. We're just little balls of light, all the orbs. That's us too. When we get done with our meat suit, we'll become an orb. Anyway, can't really control what suit you get. And sometimes things go on with your suit while you're in it that you can't control. But we can control what we adorn ourselves with, as is our right. I appreciate the people who, I don't want to say like shameless has a bad connotation, but I think there are people out here who are trying to reclaim the shameless term. And so when we release shame and opinion, dress for the job you want, you know, I like to watch people with their own style. Sometimes I might giggle because it tickles me. But I wouldn't want anybody to change unless they're hurt, unless they need some new raiment. If you're having a hard time. And when his work was done, he laughed in the forest. Why would the north wind laugh at us? Because we implored our loom in ways that carry shame. And so the elements really, you know, they don't care. They're going to be elementing. Element's going to element, right? They're eternal, just like us. So it's funny. It's funny. It's like an elder, you know, taking delight in a child making the first mistakes. You know, we don't know no better. We have to relearn the first things that many of us were taught was original sin. The immediate result was cover it up. Everything was cool till that lady ate the apple and now everybody got to put clothes on. So everything's Eve's fault. Or is it Adam's fault? For like what happened? What happened? I don't know. But they're going to put it on her. We all got to wear clothes now. I'm cool with it because it's cold outside right now. So when the north wind laughs at us, it's because we did it to ourselves. Right? It's to a certain extent. Zero tolerance should have been on the first day. That's the thing about boundaries. They can be flexible. You know, somebody does something you think is super cool, and you're just going to go relax those boundaries. Right? Forget who you are. Forget not that modesty is for a shield against the eye of the unclean. Period. Very interesting to me. I wasn't going to say it hurt me to my heart, but I'm so used to it. This little scar is a little bit numb. I heard on a podcast the other day, she was talking about the divine dark feminine and embracing it, also embracing sensuality and eroticism. And of course, this is a femme of color on her, it's a spiritual podcast, and she's really funny. She was talking a bit about her clients and herself, thinking about what they would do or wear if they lived in an all-woman community. The amount of freedom that they could feel with no predatory glances, and just be in their bodies and wear whatever they wanted or not. And it's just sad. Don't care. I don't care about male fragility right now. It's just sad. And even if you're one of the good guys, if you're not calling out your bros, it's sad. Because no more can we do with the fragility of the male ego when women are out here taking the hits over and over and over again, and you, Mr. Big Bad Man, gonna feel bad because you're powerless against your other man friends. You know, when is there gonna be a zero tolerance? How many women have to sit with the scars and the trauma and the loneliness and the isolation and the therapy bills? But no, don't say nothing to your bros, because you know they might do a code red on you in the locker room. Please. And when the unclean shall be no more? That's a good question. I could just stop that right there. And that's where I would circle all the way back to the beginning about what we tolerate and what we eroticize. Because now we're in a loop. We can't kill something if we're still engaging in it, the behavior, right? So this is the part that frustrates me, why I get frustrated. You know, and it's not like exactly all anger. It's just like a lot of frustration. But then I say, hey, eternal. Okay, catch you on the next go round. But this woman, 50. And meanwhile, where he get that idea from? I could think of a couple places, right? When the unclean shall be no more, what would you do? What were modesty but a fetter and a fouling of the mind? A fetter and a fouling of the mind. When the unclean shall be no more. I just want us to entertain that idea. It's Christmas time. We all want world peace. And I would love it if people could just exist and we not stop catering to the fragility of the most base among us. Take responsibility. I want to eat a whole chocolate cake. Okay? It looks great. I want to do a whole bunch of things that, you know, are impulses, but I hold myself accountable. And, you know, I'm not even that great a guy, you guys, okay? I'm just here learning human like you. But there are certain things that I'm not going to do. And so, as hard as it is, the easiest thing for me to do is to look at myself and try to continually analyze my impulses. And that's when the decolonize movement, that's what it means. To me, part of decolonizing is dissecting your impulses and figuring out where they come from, and then controlling them. Of course, we have to make peace with them. We'll take that pause and say, whoa, little cannibal inside, I see what you were born of. We both have the same abusive, patriarch that has distorted our perception of what is normal, quote unquote, normal behavior. Okay? Number one, there are very few norms, and when you look at them in relation to universal law. What we're born into as children is really like a lot of pure stuff. till you're like 2 or 3 years old, and you start getting programmed by the folks around you and what you see in them do, because they've been out here on earth under some really strange circumstances and not a lot of support, participating in cultivating things that aren't necessarily healthy and are abusive. To me, decolonizing means why do I want to do this way, and start to say, okay, well, I get that. It's not my fault, but I have to take responsibility. Not my fault. I take responsibility to correct it. Responsibility does not mean really to just get guilty and sit there and be like, oh, I did this, and now I'm just gonna fester in guilt and navel gaze, and that's accountability. Feeling bad? No, that's, you gotta keep going through that. Decolonize, and that's for the fellas too. These women need to stop holding your hand through this. I don't know. Seen too many horrible things, and I'm standing up for the women. And forget not that the earth delights to feel your bare feet, and the winds long to play with your hair. Forget not. And I read that like a day after I was making a card for a friend, and I was thinking about how much like air and water this person has in their chart. And I was like, man, I think they need to be barefoot outside. I don't go barefoot outside. I told y'all, I'm a tenderfoot city kid. It's cold. It's prickly out. No, but when I do it, it's like, oh, why don't I do this? If I do sneak out somewhere and expose more skin, it's like, oh, it's like a caress. Lean up against a tree. Because they out here working for us. And all we do is ignore them. We select which ones, no offense. We all got to do what we got to do. But give a little love and consideration. And get in that reciprocal relationship, that exchange of energy. Right? Creation delights in itself. That's my note on that. Creation delights in itself. We are all one with the trees and the grass and the squirrels. And when we connect, all benefit. All of nature and all of us exist directly as a result of the actions of each other. The tree breathes because we breathe. We breathe because the tree breathes. We are made up of the minerals of this planet and others. Particles everywhere. So, sorry to be hard on y'all this week. Not sorry. I don't know. I knew it was going to come like that. I really didn't want it. I really didn't want it, but it needed, it's just stuck in my head. My sisters. And I hold it in because I don't want to be hard on y'all every morning. But, doggone it. I see y'all outside. And I'll catch you outside. This one is also, we have a couple of men in the town that are at the door. One's crossed through already. And I send my love on their journeys. And as new ancestors, men, help us from the other side. When you're ready, because you got to do your rest first. But we'll see you. Okay. Happy holidays, y'all. Enjoy your time with the people. Enjoy your time. That's all we got. Find your joy. I love you so much. All right? I'll talk to you. In the Cab Radio is produced by Jada White, aka Dream Queen. Original theme music produced by Baby Weekend Boys and Icky Mac the Beat Jugular. Learn more at In the Cab Radio at Linktree. Thank you so much for tuning in.